Honda decided to bring back one of the smallest but most iconic motocross machines ever built, and instead of turning it into just another beginner bike, they made it something that could redefine lightweight performance in today's world. And here's the twist: this bike might actually be more important now than it ever was back then. Stick with me. Welcome back to Acer Rider, and today we're diving into the legendary Honda CR125M Elsinore and what a 2026 version could really look like. Now, the CR125M Elsinore isn't just a smaller version of the 250, it has its own identity. Back in the 1970s, this bike played a huge role in making motocross accessible to younger riders and beginners. It wasn't intimidating, it wasn't overly powerful, but it had just enough performance to teach you how to ride properly. And honestly, that's something I personally think is missing today. A lot of modern entry-level bikes either feel too basic or too aggressive. There's not much in between. The original CR125M Elsinore sat perfectly in that middle ground. It was fun, responsive, and actually taught you skills, instead of just carrying you along for the ride. Now imagine Honda bringing that same idea into 2026. If the 2026 Honda CR125M Elsinore becomes a reality, the design would almost certainly stay true to its roots. You'd expect that iconic Honda red, a slim and lightweight body, and a long, flat seat that allows you to move freely while riding. The high front fender, minimal body panels, and classic motocross stance would all be there, but updated with modern materials and sharper lines. It wouldn't look like a retro toy, it would look like a serious machine with heritage behind it. And this is something I personally love, when manufacturers respect the original design instead of completely changing it, because bikes like the Elsinore aren't just machines, they're part of history. Now let's talk about the engine, because this is where things get really interesting. The original CR125M was a two-stroke, and that's a huge part of its character. Lightweight, quick revving, and incredibly responsive. It didn't have massive torque, but once you got into the power band, it came alive. And I'll be honest, this is something I personally wish we could fully bring back. Because even though modern four-strokes are more efficient and easier to ride, they don't have that same raw feeling. A two-stroke 125 forces you to actually learn how to ride. You have to manage the throttle, stay in the right gear, and keep the momentum going. It teaches you skill. Now, realistically, in 2026, Honda would likely go with a modern four-stroke engine, probably around 125 to 150 cc. That would make it more compliant with emissions regulations and easier to maintain. And from a practical standpoint, that makes sense. But here's my personal take, and I think a lot of riders will agree with this. If Honda could somehow introduce a modern, cleaner two-stroke version of the 2026 Honda CR125M Elsinore, even as a limited or off-road only model, it would be huge. Like, seriously, that would bring back a level of excitement that we don't really see anymore in this segment. Now, performance-wise, this bike would be all about balance. It's not about having insane power, it's about having usable power. Smooth enough for beginners, but engaging enough for experienced riders. And this is where I personally think a lightweight 125 really shines. Because when a bike is light, everything feels better. It's easier to control, easier to recover from mistakes, and way less tiring to ride. You can push it harder without feeling overwhelmed. The chassis would likely be built using modern lightweight materials, keeping the overall weight as low as possible. That alone would make a massive difference in how the bike feels on the track. The suspension would be a huge upgrade compared to the original. Modern long travel forks and a high-quality rear shock would give you much better control over jumps, bumps, and rough terrain. And that's something I personally think is more important than raw speed. Because at the end of the day, confidence is what makes you faster, and a bike that feels stable and predictable gives you that confidence. The riding position would stay aggressive and active, just like a proper motocross bike should be. You're not sitting back and relaxing, you're moving, adjusting, and working with the bike. And that's what makes a 125 so fun. You're constantly engaged. Now let's talk about braking, because this is one area where modern bikes have a huge advantage. The original CR125M didn't have the kind of stopping power we expect today, but a 2026 version would definitely come with modern disc brakes, giving you strong and consistent braking performance. And honestly, that's a game changer, especially for newer riders. Now, when it comes to features, I really hope Honda keeps things simple. Maybe fuel injection, a lightweight digital display, and that's about it. No unnecessary electronics, no complicated ride modes, because the moment you overcomplicate a bike like this, you lose what makes it special. And this is something I personally feel strongly about. Bikes like the Elsinore are supposed to be pure. They're about riding, not settings. Now let's talk about who this bike is actually for. First, beginners. This could easily be one of the best learning bikes out there. It's not intimidating, it's lightweight, and it forces you to develop real skills. Then you've got younger riders or those stepping up from smaller bikes. This would be the perfect transition machine. And then there are experienced riders, people who just want something fun. Because I'll be honest, sometimes riding a smaller bike is way more enjoyable than riding something big and powerful. You can actually use all the power, push the limits, and really feel connected to the bike. That's something I personally enjoy a lot. Now here's the twist we talked about at the beginning. What if Honda isn't just bringing back the 2026 Honda CR125M Elsinore as a single model, but as a part of a full lightweight performance lineup? Think about it. A new generation of Elsinore bikes, 125, 250, maybe even more, all designed to bring back that raw, simple riding experience. Because right now, there's a gap in the market. A lot of bikes are either too basic or too advanced. There's not much that focuses purely on the joy of riding. And that's exactly what the Elsinore name represents. If Honda gets this right, this wouldn't just be a comeback, it would be a movement. A reminder that motorcycles don't need to be complicated to be fun. So the real question is, would you ride a modern CR125M Elsinore? Would you choose something lightweight and skill-focused over something bigger and more powerful? Because I'll be honest, I would pick this kind of bike any day just for the experience. If this got you thinking, hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Acer Rider. There's a lot more coming, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's next. And before we wrap this up, quick disclaimer. The 2026 Honda CR125M Elsinore discussed here is not an officially confirmed model by Honda. This concept is based on historical legacy, current industry trends, and creative interpretation with AI-assisted insights for entertainment and discussion purposes. But sometimes, the smallest bikes leave the biggest impact.